According to Wikipedia, Escobar is the wealthiest criminal in history who had a net worth of 30 billion US dollars by time of his death. As of 2021, his massive fortune equals $64 billion. Later became the king of cocaine, Escobar was arguably the world's most powerful drug smuggler and arms trafficker of his time. There is a lot to know more about. Stick to the video till the end. Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria, also famously known as Pablo Escobar, was a Colombian-based drug godfather from the mid-1970s to the early 90s. He was born on December 1, 1949 in Rionegro, Colombia, to a financially below-average family. His father was a farmer and his mother was a schoolteacher. A son of a farmer, later became the founder and sole leader of Medellin Carter, a highly powerful, organized, and extremely influential narcoterrorist criminal cartel organized in the city of Medellin. He began his criminal career at a very young age, his initial criminal activities including illegal trafficking of stereo equipment, fake diploma selling, and reselling of stolen tombstones. Later, he also started stealing cars. Escobar's first prominence in the crime world came when he played a crucial and high-profile role in controlling Colombia's smuggled cigarette market during the Marlboro Wars. This segment of his life provided him with a practice ground to become the future narcotics kingpin. During those times, once infamous for being a prime smuggling ground for marijuana, Colombia became a propelling factor for the growth of the cocaine business as the country's geographical location proved to be extremely favorable for the cocaine market to flourish. Meanwhile, Escobar was quick enough to take control of Medellin City's drugs operations after the murder of Fabio Restrepo in 1975, a gigantic drug trafficker in Medellin at that time. Escobar expertly grabbed the opportunity and seized power by taking Fabio's operations to such an unbelievable level. There were also some suspects to be found that Fabio's death was a result of Escobar's order. Shortly after his first arrest for his continuous offenses, Escobar deliberately started establishing himself as a drug dealer. He was actively involved with a small group to form a drug-oriented crime organization in 1972 that evolved into the highly impactful Medellin Cartel in 1975. Initially started as a network involved in smuggling, the Medellin Cartel got involved in trafficking cocaine in 1976 after Escobar was introduced to the money-making, lucrative idea of cocaine smuggling by a fellow trafficker. The organization turned out to be the major drug cartel in the history of crime and smuggling, as it smuggled tons of cocaine each week to multiple countries and states around the world. The cartel's gigantic network spread to almost every crime-propelling city in countries including Colombia, Central America, Peru, Panama, Bolivia, the Bahamas, Canada, as well as Miami and Los Angeles in the United States. Cocaine trafficking led the Medellin Cartel to reach the heights of its peak, and the organization earned $60 million daily and $420 million weekly. By the early 80s, Cartel became highly active in New York City, Florida, California, Panama, and Colombia, and besides the notorious and dominating illegal cocaine trade, vigorously got involved in arms trafficking, bombing, money laundering, political assassinations, terrorism, kidnapping, and extortion. Escobar, as the leader of the Medellin Cartel, was responsible for taking the lives of around 4,000 people who were supposed to come into his way of cocaine smuggling and his narco-terrorist activities in any threatening manner. Such a massive number of slain people included judges, politicians, journalists, government officials, and people from law enforcement circles, including 1,000 police officers. Escobar had also been convicted of the killing of several ordinary civilians. He had the infamous Plato o Plomo way of handling issues, which means bribes or bullets, and Escobar undoubtedly was unhesitant of preferring the latter, although sometimes he tried to manage things through the former. In 1989, his Medellin Cartel was blamed for detonating a bomb on a plane allegedly carrying a piece of information. Some 100 people died in the incident. As Escobar's power and fame grew exponentially, he dreamed of being considered a leader and tried to position himself as a philanthropist figure of Robin Hood. He spent most of his fortune in social programs. He built hospitals, housing for the poor, stadiums, and sponsored local soccer teams. Perhaps he wanted to earn everyday Colombian support to fulfill his childhood dream of becoming the president of Colombia. His dream, although, turned out to be true in an unsophisticated way. However, his efforts created an opportunity for him during the elections in 1982, and he won an alternate seat in the country's Congress. But soon, his sources of income were revealed to the public and he lost his positive reputation in their eyes. His infamous people assassination records played a crucial role as well in his decay as a public figure. Only 2 years after the elections, there was a campaign to expose his criminal records, and he was forced to resign from the seat. The justice minister who was involved in revealing Escobar's notorious criminal activities was allegedly put to death sometime later. In 1991, Escobar offered to surrender himself to the authorities with the condition of allowing him to build his prison. Colombian officials agreed to that, and he was moved to LA Cathedral, a heaven-on-earth facility that consisted of a nightclub, a waterfall, a sauna, and a soccer field. However, he tortured 2 cartel members to death over there, so officials decided to move him. Before Escobar could be transferred to somewhere else, he managed to escape from the La Cathedral. In 1992, a manhunt was started by Colombian officials, which was reportedly aided by rival drug cartels and US officials. In 1993, the next day after he celebrated his 44th birthday, his hideout in Medellin was revealed to the authorities. The law enforcement forces stormed his place either for an arrest or an encounter. Escobar, along with his bodyguard, managed to get to the roof of the building. However, officials found him and he was fatally shot. There are speculations that Escobar took his own life to prevent his possible extradition to the US in the case of arrest. According to his family, he was always determined to do so. Escobar earned an ample amount of money during the height of the Medellin cartel. It led him to be one of the wealthiest figures in the world and create a lavish lifestyle for him and his family. He owned several luxurious homes and palatial possessions. His most recognizable property was Hacienda Nápoles, located between Bogota and Medellin. Hacienda Nápoles was like a city inside the city. It had a soccer field, a bullfighting arena, artificial lakes, dinosaur statues, a tennis court, an airstrip, a zoo, and the charred remains of a classic car collection destroyed by a rival cartel. The front gate of the estate was topped by the plane he used for his first drug run to the US. Escobar created a whole jungle in his zoo where he kept some 200 animals including elephants, zebras, camels, ostriches, giraffes, and hippopotamuses. Many of them were smuggled into the country abroad his drug planes. After his death, those animals were sent to the zoo despite 4 hippopotamuses behind. The place was looted by other locals later and currently is a popular tourist destination. He also invested his money in buying private planes, lavish and over-the-top pastries, and also offered to pay his country's 10% debts in case of assisting him to be exempt from any extradition treaty. Pablo Escobar reportedly burned $2 million of his fortune to keep his daughter warm. The incident took place during his family run in 1992 to 1993 when he, along with his family, was living in a hideout in the Medellin mountainsides. He had his family blindfolded before they would relocate every 48 hours among 15 different hideaways, just to make sure they remained unaware of their location. During those movements, his daughter, Manuela, became hypothermic, and Escobar decided to burn $2 million crisp banknotes in a blink of an eye just to keep his family warm. While Escobar was alive, he made sure to give his family immense luxury and convenience. However, once made to Forbes' annual list of the world's richest people 7 years in a row, he didn't set aside a huge lump sum for his wife, son, and daughter. According to his son, Juan Pablo Escobar, who was now changed his name to Sebastian Marroquin, most of Escobar's wealth went to the government, 2 of his rival groups, PPs, and Cali Cartel, his remote or hidden assets, and many other things. Now, as you've come to know that the United States and Colombian government were against him, but he was loved by the public. Escobar was a legend to numerous in Medellin, particularly to poor people. He was a characteristic at advertising, and he attempted to make altruism among the poor of Colombia. A long-lasting avid supporter, he was credited with building football fields and multi-sports courts, just as supporting youngsters' football teams. Escobar was likewise answerable for the development of houses and football fields in western Colombia, which acquired his prominence among the poor. He endeavored to develop his Robin Hood picture and every now and again circulated cash through lodging projects and other urban exercises, which acquired him an outstanding prevalence among local people of the towns that he regularly visited. Escobar's personality remains questionable. While many criticize the intolerable idea of his violations, he was viewed as a figure of Robin Hood-like for some in Colombia, but he brought much comfort to the poor. His murder was painful, and his funeral service went north to 25,000 people. In addition, its private estate, Hacienda Nápoles, has been transformed into a theme park. His life has likewise filled in as a motivation or for has been sensationalized generally in film, TV, and music. Hope you liked today's video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. We'll meet again soon.